Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Catholic Education Foundation podcast number 14. This week we have Miss Amy Nall. Amy is the Assistant Superintendent of Schools for the Archdiocese of Louisville. And as always, Mr. Rich Lecklider. Rich is the President of the Catholic Education Foundation. Amy, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Teague. It's so good to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, of course.
Absolutely.
So, Amy, let's start with this. Now, we start with this kind of with all of our guests. Tell us about your own experience growing up as a student in Catholic schools.
Yeah, well, I'm always glad to be asked that question because anytime I have an opportunity to talk about my parents, and that's where it really started for me. I love that opportunity. They're both in heaven now, but, you know, they were the anchor in our Catholic faith, our family faith and education. Those were the priorities of my parents. And so I actually straddled two dioceses. I grew up in Clarksville, Indiana, so we were in the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. My dad was from Kentucky, from Louisville. Grew up in the West End, and he was always going to be a Louisvillian, and my mom was always going to be a Hoosier. We landed on that side, but the Archdiocese of Louisville was very important to us. Their commitment was to faith, family, and education. Dad worked at Lollard's as a maintenance man at Lollard's. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, 7 kids. I was the youngest.
Wow.
And you know, he worked 7 days a week, every holiday. I just thought that's what people did.
Just the norm, right?
Until I got older, and then I understood that he was doing that to be able to take care of his family. And faith and education were two ways that he took care of his family. And so we were anchored at St. Anthony's Catholic Church in Clarksville, and that parish, and all 7 of us went to St. Anthony's grade school, was really our, that was our home base, and it was our culture. We did everything there, played and prayed, sure. Right? And my parents were super involved, super engaged, volunteers, and really modeled that to us. High school, we had the option. My dad was a St. X grad. My mom was a Pres grad.
Okay.
And so we had the option to do Providence, or we could come over to the Louisville schools. So 2 brothers went to Flagey. 2 sisters went to Presentation. And then 3 of us went to Providence High School. So
assuming you went to Providence.
I went to Providence High School, absolutely. Right. And so what I would just say is, you know, my roots, my passion, and my love for Catholic education really stemmed from my family and the priority that they made it, and that full engagement in parish life.
Now, as we were talking when you first arrived, you've been in the Archdiocese of Louisville for a very long time now as well, right?
I have, right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I have been here for 35? Is this the 35th year? I've been here for 35 years. I think it's been 35. So I started my teaching career. I was went to school to be a high school English teacher. So I started at Holy Rosary Academy under the leadership of Dr. Beverly McAuliffe, one of the all-time greats in education.
You bet.
And she so inspired me. Worked for her at Holy Rosary. I then moved to Mercy Academy and spent 10 years there under the leadership of Mary Boyce, another great, and Mike Johnson, another great. And then started moving into leadership by being a department chair, knowing I wanted to go into administration and be just like some of those greats, like the Bob Larkins at Providence and the Mary Boyces and the Mike Johnsons and the Beverly McAuliffes. And so I moved to Sacred Heart Academy in 2002 to work under Beverly again, and was there for 19 years, and I've been with the Archdiocese at the Office of Catholic Schools. This is just my 2nd year.
Rich is a pretty successful run in Catholic schools here, right?
Unbelievable. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a great vocation. It makes a huge difference in the lives of our kids. Huge.
Absolutely. And having the right leadership at the Archdiocese, I think, is super important for our Catholic schools, too. So let's talk a little bit about this thing we call Catholic Schools Week, right?
Yeah.
How to get started and why is it important?
Yeah. Well, Catholic Schools Week is started in 1974. The NCEA, which is the National Catholic Education Association, started that program. I guess I'd call it a program where we can really take a week. I mean, every day we should appreciate Catholic education, but in some ways I would say that it might just be a little bit like breathing. We might take it for granted. I just breathe every day, but boy, if I didn't have it, that might be a problem. And I think Catholic education can sometimes be the same way. It's just part of who we are, and we might not realize what a gift it is all the time. So the Catholic Schools Week really gives us that moment to stop, to pause, and to show our gratitude for our Catholic education and for all of the stakeholders, our parents and our teachers, our administrators, our students, our alums, and our community members who support Catholic education. So that kicks off the last weekend in January, so I believe it'll be Sunday, January 29th, and it will go until the following Saturday, February 4th.
What are some of the activities that take place during Catholic Schools Week?
Oh, we have lots of activities. So the NCEA gives us a theme for each day, and not all schools necessarily follow that.
Right, or right.
But, they all do something different maybe. Sure. But I will say this, so that I made my notes here. So the overall theme is faith, excellence, and service. So we really want to celebrate those three. Sunday is celebrating your parish. We have one school I know it has invited the alums. It's an elementary school, parish school, invited the alums to come back to Mass on Sunday. So I think that's a great way to celebrate your parish, bringing the alums back in. Monday, the theme is celebrating community. Tuesday, celebrating students. Wednesday will be celebrating nation. Thursday, celebrating vocations. And then Friday is celebrating faculty, staff, and volunteers. Saturday, celebrating families. So some of our schools are doing some pretty cool things. One school's going to do a change challenge, and there may be others that do that. We used to call it the Penny Wars. Penny Wars, remember that? So now they call it the Change Challenge. That alliteration's nice. Change Challenge. And they're, competing classes, class to class, and then they're going to donate the money to a nonprofit. So that's an excellent way to gain spirit and healthy competition and do service. We have one school, they're going to have the students, this is to celebrate teachers, but it's fun for students, dress up as their favorite teacher. So wouldn't that be fun?
I don't know. That's great.
And I can tell you, my years of being in the schools, there were always kids on like dress up day, whether it was Halloween or, Spirit Day, who did dress as someone in the building. And that's always fun. I hope everybody has a good sense of humor about that. Some of our schools will be doing special notes to parents, to teachers. I know sometimes in the carpool lines, they'll take out donuts or cookies.
Awesome.
Everybody likes food, so there's probably some snack carts wheeling around in the hallways for the teachers. Some treats there. This activity I thought sounded really nice. 8th grade students are going to be interviewing, and maybe they'll work for you someday, Teague, because they're going to have the opportunity to interview and produce videos of the teachers in the school who are products of the Catholic schools.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So
what a great idea.
It really is. So it's celebrating Catholic schools and that legacy. So I love that. I've got one school to celebrate staff. I love this connection between the parish and the school. They're going to introduce the parish staff to the students by reading the biography of the parish staff members each morning on the PA. So let's get to know our parish business manager.
Great
let's
idea.
Get to know.
That's a great idea.
And that, that relationship is so important. So I love that. And then the last one I'll share, there's a school doing an Adopt a Classroom project where they're going to, each class has another class, and they're leaving little notes, maybe decorating, maybe leaving treats, but they're adopting for a week of being really nice and intentionally celebrating each other. So I love that.
How cool. Rich, some good ideas there, right?
Yeah, it's a good week to be out in the schools. We try to visit some schools during the week just to take that in and sharing that. It's fun.
And what I would add to that is everybody should check social media, follow all the schools to see all the cool things. So on Twitter and Instagram, you'll see all kinds of great ways the schools are celebrating. And that helps you join in the celebration for those of you who aren't in the schools.
We just gave people all kinds of great ideas, too. So if they're paying attention, there's a lot of good ideas there.
There you go. That's right.
Amy, tell us about the role of the Office of the Catholic Schools and its relationship to all of our Catholic schools within the Archdiocese.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that question, because that's important. We exist at the Office of Catholic Schools. There are 5 of us and 2 assistants. We exist to support the schools. That's it. That's the whole reason. We want to serve our schools, support our schools, advise our schools. Our mission is really about promoting excellence in the Catholic schools by providing that support and helping our schools really in the formation and education of their students for that spiritual and that academic excellence. And so to support our students, we have to support our teachers and leaders. So that's really our first reach. Now, I will tell you, we're educators, all of us, at the Office of Catholic Schools. And so in our hearts, we're always teachers. And so our focus is always the student. That's at the center of everything we do is the student. That's from where we start and move out. At the Office of Catholic Schools, we're not in the schools every day, so our reach is centered on the student, but is really a reach to the leaders and helping build leadership capacity and the teachers. And so you might say, okay, well, that isn't very specific, so what are some programming or what are some specific things that we're actually doing? So in practice, we provide professional learning, professional development through we have a summer institute. This year we built in 2 days of PD, one in the first semester, one in the second semester, helping our schools secure funding for additional professional development that they need.
And that's a calling card for teachers within the Catholic system, right? That's one of the reasons you want to come teach at a Catholic school.
Absolutely. Super well supported. Okay. And I think right now, as we know, with teacher shortage, it's now more key than ever to be supported. We do have a new teacher mentorship program that comes out of our office where we work with teachers to mentor our new teachers and really help them in their practice. That supportive community is so important. It is a calling card. A lot of networking, coaching, really working to build the capacity of our school leadership teams and the spiritual development of our leaders and our teachers as well.
So it's no small task.
It's no small task, but we love it. We love it.
Rich, I'm always curious about this. What's the partnership between the Office of Catholic Schools and the Catholic Education Foundation?
Well, it's become a lot stronger, I think, in the last several years. And we're both in the business of transforming people's lives, essentially, young lives in this case, and their families. And that's our common goal. That's what we want to do. Now, we have one role to play, and that's called access. So we're all about the family who can't afford to go to a Catholic school and say, you know what, the answer is yes, and provide that financing or that funding for them. The schools do the hard work, right? Our teachers, counselors, staff, the Office of Catholic Schools, they do the really hard work of what I'll call the real transformation, both in the classroom and outside the classroom. And together, when we do that together, and we're supporting 3,600 kids right now through the foundation, we're going to make this community a whole lot better going forward.
Without a doubt.
Yep.
Without a doubt. So talking about the community being better moving forward, let's talk a little bit about this Kentucky Supreme Court decision that struck down school choice legislation in the Commonwealth. Rich, where do we go from here?
Well, first of all, never give up. Never. And that's really important. We've been fighting this battle for at least 30 years in the Commonwealth to try to secure this.
Sure.
And while it's disappointing, I'll say this. At the foundation, we would have been a beneficiary of that legislation in a pretty big way. By my estimate, we would have probably gained $5 million annually through that program to help fund more kids in Catholic schools. That's about double what we're taking in today. So that would have been transformational for us.
Yeah.
And what we've decided to do, whether we have the legislation in the future or not, is we're going to create a program, a campaign, if you will, that essentially drives our donations up by that same amount annually. So state program or not, our vision is to essentially double our revenues, our intake,
Vision
so we
stays
can.
the same.
It really doesn't change, and we're going to go from 3,600 kids to 5,000 or 6,000 in the next 5 years that we can support. So while we're disappointed, it really doesn't change where we're going.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Amy, so from your unique perspective, how important are Catholic schools to the future of this community?
Oh, well, extremely important that they are the future. Our students are the future. I was listening to the What's New in Arch Lou podcast this morning, and a student whom Brian was interviewing said, I don't want to always be thought of as we're the future. We're the present too. So I want to
How great was that
honor
podcast?
that. That was great. Those
phenomenal.
students were phenomenal. That leadership, but that is what we see. Our young people who are beneficiaries of this amazing education and that involvement in their parish life. Really, we're building strong Christian Catholic leaders who are concerned about what they can do for others.
Right.
And so I think, all of us would have this experience. If you go anywhere and you start talking to someone, you're at the doctor's office or you stopped at the bank, Catholic school graduates are there and they're leading the way. You can see that. I could name a whole list of alums from the schools where I worked.
Sure.
Who are just strong, influential leaders in our community.
Right.
And I think that is a part of that Catholic commitment to service that we see service through leadership. So I think our Catholic schools are forming our children now, and that's going to form our community into a better place later.
I couldn't help but think about the Salute to Alumni Dinner when she was talking about that, Rich. That's what that is, right? It's just showcasing all these amazing people that are Catholic school products. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're in our 33rd year coming up March 8th, and we've got 6 really fantastic Catholic school alums that we're going to honor that evening, all of whom have very unique stories. They're not all the same, and that's the best part about it. And what you feel, and I've been doing this for a long time, when you come out of that event that night and you listen to those honorees, you get inspired about what we're trying to do in Catholic schools, period, across the board.
Absolutely.
The very first salute I ever remember attending, there were flowers on the table. So I was, a young teacher, and I was so inspired to thank my parents because it was so affirming. And I took the flowers from the table and took them to my mom and dad the next day to thank them for what they had given me. I
think I did the same thing. I think I thanked my dad after being at my first one. Thank you for the sacrifice. So, Rich, last fall, the foundation provided tuition assistance to an all-time 3,600 students, incredible, in the Catholic elementary schools and across Kentucky. Describe for us the type of families you guys seek to help.
Yeah, it's really across the board. In terms of the numbers, the average award per student is over $2,000, so it's meaningful. If you think about a tuition average of $5,000 or $6,000,
what meets that gap to where people can afford it?
So the gap is pretty wide that we're meeting on average. Some more than others. It goes kind of across the board, right? We have some families who live in poverty. They do. They can barely pay the rent on some small apartment they've got. they can barely pay $50 a month for their kids to go to a school.
Right.
Okay, so our funding opportunity there is enormous. We have families kind of, I'd say 40% of our families are single-parent households. Most of the time, it's mom that's pushing them to go to the Catholic school.
Yep.
Most of the time, her income's not very high in a lot of cases. So, again, the funding demand is large for that group of folks. We've got lots of families where, mom and dad are both working. Mom's a nurse, dad's a cop, and, they're working as hard as they can, and they've got 3 kids, and that's a big financial obligation for them, and they need some help.
Yeah.
So it's really across the gambit. And what's interesting, for the first time that we've ever tracked this, we'd never, on the application before, we'd never asked for your ethnicity or your race or anything like that, because we didn't care.
Right.
We didn't care
Didn't
what
matter.
you were. So we did that this year because some of our donors were asking that question. Well, how many folks are you helping? And for the first year, interestingly enough, almost 25% of our students are not white. Now that kind of mimics the broader community.
It does.
Okay? And that's not where we're going to end up. We're going to get better at that. But there's a starting point for us now on how are we helping other people across the board, Catholic or not, attend a Catholic school. So we kind of started that little benchmark this year. We're going to keep tracking it, keep working it. And the fastest growing segment of our customer base, as you might guess, is Hispanic.
Yep, Hispanic.
And that's a wonderful experience by itself to meet with those families. It really is. We
have several clients that have asked to do things in Spanish here recently because of that growing Hispanic population within Catholic schools. So let's talk about that a little bit more. So, obviously there's a lot of conversation about diversity and inclusion in our society. Nothing new to the Catholic education in Central Kentucky. I'd like for each of you to talk about our long-running history in this community and how Catholic schools really reach out and strengthen the whole community in need.
Well, I would start just by saying, foundational to our Catholic faith is human dignity, the dignity of the individual person. And so we so value all and each of our students and want to make Catholic education available to each and every one who would like to have a Catholic education. We'd like to meet the needs of all of our learners. So I think, when you're looking at the diverse needs from socioeconomic to, just actual learning needs, the Catholic schools are committed to providing for each individual. And again, it's that the individual dignity and creating an environment that is about belonging because we are a communal organization, right? The Catholic Church is built on community. And so that sense of belonging and being a part of a community and being honored and respected for the individual gifts. Right. So that would be my perspective.
Yeah, look, people have obviously in the last couple of 3 years talked a lot about, inclusion and equity. The best example ever around inclusion and equity is Jesus Christ. All you got to do is open the gospel message and read it. He was the epitome of inclusion across that community in which he lived 2,000 years ago. That's really the basis upon which our church is founded. And it's also the basis upon which we're challenged in our schools to educate children. So we've been doing this for a long time. I know it's in the press a lot more than it used to. We're pretty good at it, actually, to be honest. And I'm really proud of that.
Yeah. There's no doubt. So, Rich, you recently referred to Catholic schools as one of our greatest community assets. What does that really mean?
It's a great time during Catholic Schools Week to think about that. You got to ask yourself this question: what would Louisville, Kentucky, or Central Kentucky be like without them? Just think about that. And Amy makes this great point earlier. How many thousands and thousands of productive, successful folks are out in our community because of the foundation they got in a Catholic elementary school and a Catholic high school. And the more and more I see, not only in my role with the foundation, but as just across the community, Catholic schools are providing these outstanding students, rich or poor, doesn't matter, black or white,
right.
we don't care, and propelling them in every facet of their life, whether that's their family, their career, their community, their faith. Every aspect of their life is being touched by Catholic education. What other experience does that as well? Yeah. The answer is none.
Right.
None.
And I don't know if I can add. Can I add
Please.
to that? So when we're thinking of those graduates, we're thinking of the excellence of Catholic schools. So go back to Catholic Schools Week: faith, excellence, service, and those three really combine to propel. I love that word, to propel our graduates forward. And I was thinking of one of my favorite hymns in church. From a child till now, they still sing it at St. Agnes, is "We Are the Light of the World."
Oh, yeah.
I won't break out into that song because you would have to edit that out, but it says, "We are the light of the world. May our light shine before all, so that they may see the good that we do and give glory to God." That is what our alums are doing. They are the light of the world.
They are.
There's another quote that mimics that I have hanging and have had hanging in my office since I started at Sacred Heart Academy in 2002. I don't even know to whom to attribute this quote, but it says, "Our life in this world should be such that anyone seeing how we live would be drawn to praise God." And that, I think, is what is absolutely happening for our graduates out in our communities.
Amen.
Hey, Amy, you were fantastic. It's been awesome to have you here with us as we continue our celebration of Catholic Schools Week. So, Rich, on behalf of all of our Catholic school families and the CEF, Amy, thank you for all of your work, your team's great work, in providing Catholic education to everyone who desires this life-changing experience.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for all you do, Rich.
You guys are the best, Amy.
Absolutely the best. And Rich, at the Catholic Education Foundation.
The answer is yes.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
God bless.
Rich. Thank you.